they be here? Should they be here? And one of my fears, I'm just throwing this out, and I hope to God it's just my paranoia, and please tell me that it is, that the same issues that have brought us together can tear us apart. Is it conceivable that at some point after we go after the Arabs and the Muslims and the sheiks, who are the most targeted group, who have nothing to do with Muslim, a very large community, and have been the most targeted group so far, that is there some point someone's going to raise the question, well, are we in this dilemma because we are supporting Israel? Right? A lot of people think that the problem, this problem of September 11th, the World Conference problem, it's because of Israel. Is it possible? Is it conceivable that this nation might even influence this world to start becoming even more anti-Semitic than we are? It worries me. It worries me that it wouldn't be hard. We have been a friend of Israel, as we should be. But it worries me when I think about the way that we are responding to today's problems, that we might try to find an easy target. And someone will tell us that if we change our position toward Israel, everything might be better tomorrow. It's such a simplistic and wrong-headed and wrong-minded position. I'm not debating the merits of our position toward Israel. I'm saying that that's not a solution. That is not a solution to a pervasive problem that we are too isolated, we are too regionally chauvinistic, we are too nationally oriented, and we're, in a sense, too imperialistic, and I mean that term in the broadest sense, in the way that we condone certain conduct and carry ourselves. So the challenge for this nation, for this world, is to see the dimensions of race and their true manifestations and try to address them in the ways that will solve some of these problems. I think that from my own point of view, what I found quite compelling was a line in an opinion some 23 years ago by Justice Harry Blackmun, the Alan Bakke versus the Board of Regents of California at UC Davis Medical School. And it was a small point then because Justice Blackmun said, I'm not for racism or race discrimination, I'm against it. And I think it's intolerable. But he said in order to get beyond racism, we have to deal with race. We can't ignore it. It's inevitable that we have to deal with it. We missed an opportunity to do that in the South Africa conference, and we now have the chance to do it. And the proof of that is in one other thing. It's very interesting. I have been talking to a lot of people of African descent in America, and there have been two sort of responses to what happened at September 11th and the aftermath, more the aftermath. Everyone thinks that the September 11th was a tragedy and a travesty. But one response is that they're saying what's happening to Muslims and Arabs and others is just absolutely unacceptable. That's the first public posture. And the second posture is that, wow, I'm glad they moved from us to somebody else for a while. And that's the more frightening one, that we will find acceptance in shifting the burden of indiscriminate discrimination just because it's moved from one group to another, that find it more acceptable and not find it as intolerable now as it was the day before it happened. So our challenge is to see this World Conference as a missed opportunity, number one, but to see this new war as a new opportunity to deal with race, to deal with religion, and to understand what we know, that the majority of the people in the world don't speak English. The majority aren't Christian. The majority are poor. They're black and they're brown, and they have a dramatically different world view. We cannot see ourselves as the chosen people. We cannot see ourselves as the chosen race, because there was a nation that did that last century, and the consequences were deadly and destructive. We have to see ourselves as a unified, diverse, and tightly held community, and to make sure that whatever we do for one in the interest of justice and equality, we will do for all. That, in my view, is the challenge of the 21st century, And that's what we have to do to fight and make sure that racism is not here, today, tomorrow, or ever. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I would be happy to take any questions. I think you have to hit the microphones there, too. Yes.
Hi. Most Israelis draw upon the literature of the African American movement to understand their own problems with race in Israel. And most Israelis admit that there are serious race problems, whether it has to do with Arabs, whether they be Muslim, Christian, or Jewish, or Israeli minorities, Sephardi, or Mizrahi. So considering all this overwhelming evidence and worldwide opinion which tends to claim that Israeli society is racist because it's founded on principles of Zionism, and Zionism is both racist and exclusionary like apartheid. How can you, as a scholar and an advocate for civil rights, justify your unwillingness to associate Zionism with racism?
Easy. I've done enough research to know that it's not true. That's the short answer. And the second answer is that I think it's been debated in the world community and as it was debated last month. And I think that if we decide that equating Zionism with racism will get us somewhere in solving the problems of racial discrimination, racial domination, and racial superiority in the world, that would be very helpful. I am as disheartened as anyone to see the suicide bombings, the attacks by police on young men and women and children, the daily destruction. And it seems to me that as we tried that with UN Resolution 3379 years ago to try to solve the problem in a political way, and I don't think that begins to address the complexity of Israel and the complexity of the problems there. I do believe, as we argued when we were in South Africa, I do believe that this country should have, long time ago, with the new administration, tried to have a serious dialogue and play an important role in making sure that the two countries are making some progress, that they need to talk about redrawing some boundaries. They need to respect the rights of the Palestinian nation as well as the rights of the Israeli nation. And I think that it is one of the most complex problems of the 21st century, but it's not the only problem. It's not the only problem. And I think that even if we declared what you would like me to declare, I don't think that it would make an ounce of difference. And what I fear is what I said before, that if we think that the world problem is Israel, we are really missing the opportunity to confront the complexity and the enormity of a host of other problems that have nothing to do with Israel or nothing to do with the Palestinians or nothing to do with the Middle East. There's a lot of other world problems out there. I'm overwhelmed by what's going on in China. I'm overwhelmed that China executes more people every year in 1 year in China than the rest of the world executes collectively. I'm overwhelmed by the fact that we don't seem to be concerned about that as a problem. I'm troubled by the fact that there are health problems that we could directly solve, world health problems that we address at this conference, and we haven't done it because American pharmaceutical companies keep saying we need a profit for our drugs as opposed to we want to use our medication to treat those children who are dying because they don't have fresh water or clean water or other issues. So if I thought that that statement would even come close to beginning to solve the problem, we could have a serious debate about it. I'm not convinced that that will solve the problem.